How's it going, crypto community? Jade back with another article. This one, well, not an article. This time we're actually going to be going over a document from Banco Central do Brasil, which is the central bank of Brazil. And in this, it is a breakdown of distributed ledger tech research done by the Central Bank of Brazil. Right? Now, in this document, it goes over obviously not just Ripple, but the Bitcoin network, gives basic background to the development of this blockchain technology, right? And so obviously I'm not going to cover everything in this. I just want to focus on the stuff that is prevalent to all of us as XRP investors. And so if I can find the right place to start here, because that's not the right one. The first little segment where we get a mention of Ripple is where they're talking about its efficiencies. So in this, apologies for you being able to hear the clicking. I don't have a mouse right now. Of course, of all the things to leave at home, I left my mouse. So it's going to be a fun next few days. So again, apologies to anybody who's upset that my quality is a fair bit lower than normal. We're just going to have to deal with this, and hopefully you can work through this with me. At any rate, to stick to the point of this, the article gets into the fact that it's talking about how as these systems have moved forward, the design has evolved since the Bitcoin network, and some components may be replaced in order to enable new implementations of blockchain to add features and achieve goals outside of the original Nakamoto design, the Bitcoin design. More specifically, in recent projects, blockchains were adapted for moving in permissioned networks, where nodes are subject to governance policies that dictate who may connect to and use it. So, as opposed to public networks such as the Bitcoin network, where anyone is free to connect and use at any time. The proof of work algorithm is often replaced in these examples by proof of stake and sometimes discarded entirely, as it is considered resource intensive and unnecessary for networks of trusted servers, such as permissioned blockchains. And the consensus mechanism may be replaced for alternative schemes in order to achieve the highest transaction throughput or different levels of fault tolerance. Example, Ripple. So, interesting that they point this out, but it continues on that among this plethora of new technologies, some noteworthy projects must be briefly described: Ethereum, Hyperledger, Quorum, and Corda. For these will be looked into with some detail further along in this document. Now, we just did a video on the Corda platform, or I just did a video on the Corda platform rather, where I show a video of the dev breaking down how Corda Settler is absolutely going to use XRP. It is the asset, and not only is that the asset that the Corda Settler will be using, but that is also the method through which Swift will be settling payments via the Corda Settler. That is to say that Swift is going to use XRP. It's pretty clear based upon the video that I just did that that is absolutely the case. You can go watch the video if you want for yourself. It should be available right now, the video just previous to this one, and you will also be able to click on the link in that video's description or in the comment that I pinned, where you can go and see the whole video if you want, just to make sure that wasn't just cherry picking, right? At any rate, it states here in this article that the recently launched Corda distributed ledger moves in the same direction as this, towards a more efficient and affordable method to move funds between foreign parties. So, as it states, though, it is a related technology created in 2016 by the R3 Consortium, a company founded in 2015 that has currently gathered over 80 of the world's biggest financial institutions. Although inspired by blockchain, designers opted to diverge from the described design in order to drop some characteristics, then deemed unfit. For most banking scenarios, particularly It leverages no cryptocurrencies and no global shared data while still allowing for regulatory and supervisory features, consensus mechanisms, and smart contracts. So, a lot of you are like, Jade, didn't you just say that Settler is using XRP? But this Bank of Brazil just said that they won't use cryptocurrencies. Well, you are absolutely right, viewer, but that's because we don't hold a cryptocurrency. We hold a digital asset. And Brad Garlinghouse has made it very clear that there's a very big difference between these two terms and these two ideas of what these tokens via Bitcoin or XRP actually are and how they will be used, right? So keep in mind, terminology is critical here, right? So moving on to the next section, talking about Ripple. Ripple's interledger protocol, for instance, and this is talking about how blockchain will enable the streamlining of payments. So Ripple's interledger protocol, for instance, proposes to speed settlement times by integrating the central bank's ledgers through currency exchanges, i.e. connectors as they call them. And on that matter, a recent Bank of England report presents a successful trial of the interledger protocol in processing cross-border payments across simulated RTGS systems, real-time gross settlement systems, for those of you who are new. And the institution deemed its trial as positive, although it points that there are some pending challenges that should be tackled in subsequent proof of concepts, and that's particularly in handling of available liquidity in cross-border payments, which is to be explored since Ripple, who tested the blockchain technology, or the tested blockchain technology at hand, was designed for retail and corporate transactions, an application where such a feature liquidity is not necessary. However, the Central Bank of Brazil team opted for not further exploring applying blockchain to the SML. Now, the SML is this international settlement system. Essentially, it's here by their very description, SML is a payment system for enabling foreign trade in local currencies by allowing importers and exporters from Brazil to send and receive payments to and from their counterparties in Uruguay and Argentina using local currencies, right? So at any rate, in any case, as they say here, SML remains a very good case for process optimization using distributed ledger technology and financial innovations. So, interesting stuff. And again, it's kind of hard to really pin down exactly where they're standing because they're talking out both sides of their mouth essentially, right? However, as we just went over, they are pointing to the Bank of England, which we have, they link to the document that a lot of people have already covered in the space, and this is actually a little bit older information, but still I feel important to be bringing to the forefront of everybody's attention, as these are pieces of evidence that help us to frame the narrative that we're seeing unfold today, right? So while this document is making it very wishy-washy as far as which way the Bank of Brazil is going, it does provide insight into when we hear institutions such as the Bank of Brazil, when we hear individuals such as Mark Carney come out talking about the interledger protocol, the digital assets, blockchain, so on and so forth, without ever saying XRP or Ripple, that's exactly what they're talking about. So again, we also have to deal with the fact that a lot of people just won't accept what I'm sharing with you because they're going to say, well, Ripple, they don't, they're using Ripple technology, they're using XCurrent, they're using XVIA, so on and so forth. Well, no, because as this document's pointing out, again, the SML system is a cross-border payment system, right? It is facilitating payments between Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina using their local currencies. And it's doing this by also eliminating the need to conduct currency exchanges from import-export operations, aka nostro-vostro accounts, right? Thus, the SML is reducing the cost for foreign trade transactions for both the importer and exporter from those three countries when they're dealing in that region. So how are they doing that? How are they reducing the cost? Because they're using the bridge, a bridge asset, a connector, as they say in this, and that connector is XRP. So this article obviously not as exciting as the R3 video that I just put out, because again, it is talking out both sides of their mouth in this article. But the beauty again is that this is a little bit older article. I believe that it is actually from last year. Oh, this is from the end of 2017. So as you can see, we've been watching unfold with Ripple, and XRP has been unfolding for several years. And even though we keep hearing about new developments that are ongoing in South America and the world as a whole in regards to Ripple adoption, we're seeing more and more evidence that these institutions, such as the Central Bank of Brazil and the Bank of England, are moving more towards blockchain ledger systems than their traditional fiat systems. And my personal belief, this is me putting my conspiratorial hat on, right? So not financial advice. My belief that the reason this is going on is obviously because, as we've been hearing on the news, we are entering into a era of financial uncertainty in regards to the stability of the global monetary system, by and large due to the upcoming financial disaster that everybody's talking about on the mainstream media now, right? I mean, I've heard them talk about the financial crisis at least 5 times in the last week. So they're ramping up this narrative that yes, we are heading towards a pretty serious recession or even depression. Who knows how bad it's really going to be. Everybody's trying to kick the ball down the field, so to speak, but this is going to happen. Markets go through boom and bust cycles, just as XRP, Bitcoin, and the rest of the digital asset has been in a bear market for the last almost 2 years now. The stock market has been in a bull market for nearly over 10 years now, and we're in the longest bull market in the history of humanity. So anybody who thinks that this is going to continue on forever, you're living in a fantasy world. Everything that goes up must come down, even in the traditional markets. And even though this is kind of a scary thing to think about, it's natural. It's actually healthy for markets to correct, and that's when a lot of people will make the most money that they possibly can, because that's when you are able to get into great stocks such as I'm not going to list any stocks just because I'm not a financial advisor, but there are many stocks that I'm sure many people can think of off the top of their head, many great companies that it would be awesome to get in at a 50+% discount from where that stock is currently, right? So with that in mind, the issue, however, is not so much that the stock market is going to plummet or that the housing market's going to come down in value, but more so that the monetary system is going to become hyperinflated as a result, which is going to have a inverse impact on the digital assets because they cannot be debased, such as the dollar and the euro can be. And it is highly likely that this ISO 20022 that you've heard many people in the community talk about, myself was included, that this whole real-time gross settlement payment system is being developed so that they can do a global bail-in process into this. And again, this is my belief based upon the research that I've done, not financial advice. Go do your own research as always, right? But the end point is that we are either going to watch fiats hyperinflate into infinity, or we're going to watch the global financial system find a way to provide what will appear to be stability in their but what will appear to be stability in their traditional financial system, as opposed to the cost of milk going through the roof. Instead, the cost of XRP and the other digital assets which they choose to bail into will hyperinflate, and they will then become underpinning assets for the facilitation of payments between nations. And this is all a part of a system or a roadmap, I guess you could say, that will unfold over perhaps the next decade to 20 years as the world moves slowly away from fiats and towards these more these stronger stores of value that are digital assets, such as Bitcoin, such as XRP, right? But again, that's just speculation based upon what we're seeing unfold from these institutions. So with all that said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're new, as always, please hit that subscribe and ring that bell, and don't forget to hit that like. And if you enjoyed my content, if you have any disagreements with my content, whatever it is, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, concerns, views, whatever they are. I always love to comment and get in touch with all my community. It's a blast getting to know everybody out there. There's tons of brilliant people out here, so I appreciate all of you for keeping me honest and on point with anything I share you. And also, I really appreciate XRP Legend for sharing this with me and also sharing the R3 Corda video with me that I just did the video on prior to this. So with all that said, thank you all once again, and I can't wait to see all of you in my next video on Mars.